Hello, this is High Templar with my Total War Warhammer 2 speculation video, and I wanted to talk about Skaven in Warhammer 2 a bit more. So, we know that this Warhammer 2 map will contain Lustria, Nagrod, Ultlan and Southlands. And also we have this steel from the announcement trailer, and does provide us with a bit more information. There is one special Skaven clan that is connected to the Lustria, to Southlands and to this very image, and this is clan Pestilens. And I've realized I haven't talked about this particular clan in length, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Firstly, if you see that little image, you can see that this rat is sick. It has bulges on it, and those bulges would look like something you would see elsewhere. Like, it's not visible very well on this image, but it is very visible on this one, or even the banner of the clan Pestilens. So this is a pox rat, and they are connected to the clan Pestilens. The other thing, you might say that they are also connected to Skaven in general, but it shows a bit. Also, if we are talking about the history of the clan Pestilens, they actually during the Great Skaven Migration found their way to Lustria, and at that moment when they landed there, they started to suffer from many diseases that they were unprepared for. Basically, everywhere, whenever you go to a new place, there are different types of bacteria and viruses there that your body is not prepared against. So those guys were almost dying there, and at some point they started to embrace a specific aspect of the horned rat which they worshipped, and this is Pestilence and Decay. So now those guys started to worship Pestilence and Decay, and things started to go up for them. Their leader, taken upon the name of Nurglit, and they started to beat the Lizardmen. They destroyed some temple cities. They actually almost wiped out Lizardmen, and if not for the rise of the Sotek, they would have probably won. And this is interesting in many ways, but they were driven off Lustria, and they landed in Southlands. They created a bit of empire there, and they went back to Skavenblight. And they asked for a seat in a Council of 13, which actually got their emissary. Basically, the Skaven executed the emissary from the clan Pestilence, and the first Skaven war began, and it lasted for 400 years. And they actually started also the second Skaven civil war, during which the Horned Rat was awakened, and then the Council of 13 members started, after that happened, they started to wear a different name, Lords of Decay, to reflect that the clan Pestilence has so much power in the council, or to reflect how the Horned Rat was changed by their fate. It's a thing in Warhammer universe that whenever you want something from anything, there might be entity born in chaos that will cater for your needs. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is clan Pestilence and how those guys are different, what units they have, what legendary lords and lords we can expect from the clan Pestilence, and how this will work in Warhammer 2. So firstly, how they are different. when most Skaven are very self-centered, and actually it's an understatement of a year or century, because those guys really don't care about anything else but themselves. Clan Pestilens is somewhat different. They actually are fanatical. They do care about cause. They want to... they don't, for example, they don't hire themselves as mercenaries, but they will fight somebody else's war if they think it will further their cause. And their cause is ultimately making other Skaven worship this specific aspect of Horned Rat. And this is where things are getting interesting, because the Decay and Pestilens and Nordlit as a leader sounds very like Nurgle, the god of chaos, who is the god of Pestilence and Decay. But yeah, and basically the Graziers somewhat look at this like a heresy as well. They have a very dim view of the Clan Pestilens. It is possible that part of it is because those guys can use magic, and so far only Graziers and Warlocks of the Skaven could do that. All other rats were forbidden from using magic, and now Clan Pestilens also have this power. But it does sound like those guys are actually worshipping like a different, like basically a Nurgle in slightly different form. So this is interesting in itself. What we can say about those guys' army is they employ a lot of this disease virulent weapons, basically. So whenever you would see that the Skaven are using some kind of poison, like there is a unit actually, or yeah, actually a weapon team in the tabletop, but in Total War Warhammer I would think that would be a separate unit that actually throws a poisonous globes at the enemy, and then you have a cloud of poison that is damaging the enemy. And I would like to see that mechanics in Warhammer 2. It would be nice to actually have Skaven not just a poison unit, but also actually damaging the health of a unit, the same way as, say, a spell Flock of Doom do. What else those guys have? They have plenty. They do possess one of the elite infantry units that Skaven do possess, and these are the Plague Monks, which are pretty hard. And in tabletop they have 3 attacks, which is a lot. And they are very good unit indeed. And there is a legendary lord who will allow you to take as many of them as you want, Skrog, but we will go to that later on. So they have the very good elite infantry, well, elite for Skaven that is, and they have plague priests. They have plague priests, which is a hero unit, which obviously is connected to the Clan Pestilens specific units. They can actually be mounted on a very specific mount. I already covered that in my Skaven army video. So there's that. They do have Plague Censer Bearers, which are basically those guys. This is Plague Censer Bearer. Those guys have, or maybe this is a better image. When you have a guy with this spike ball that is inside, it has disease warpstone. So those guys will die from this weapon in itself, but before they die, they will inflict a lot of damage in their enemy, and that will infect them with a poison, and this poison will stay with the enemy. And in tabletop, this actually is worse and worse the longer it takes, so you probably should. The longer the fight is actually on, the worse it is for the enemy, quite obviously because it's disease, right? So they are very interesting units in themselves. They also do have access to some pox rats, which can also inflict the poison, well, disease on the enemy, but I don't think we will see that. Giant pox rats as a mount, yes, but the pox rats themselves, I don't think so, because we have not seen any little creatures implemented in the Total War Warhammer game so far. The smallest we have was the only unit that worked in Warhammer tabletop as a non-single entity, but the swarm was Fellbats, and we see that in Total War Warhammer when we see Fellbats as a unit. But I do not believe we will see any of the smaller swarm creatures like, you know, like a jungle swarm or the pox rats. They are just too small, and it would be hard to render it so many entities. But this still leaves Clan Pestilens with quite a few units, and they also have some machinery like Plague Claw, which is quite obviously a catapult that is bombarding the enemy with some plague stuff. And this will work the same as, this is like, this is pretty much the same as before. You poison your enemy, you get your enemy diseased, and he will start losing health. Or this is how I would think it should work. I'm not sure if it will. It can just do damage and poison the enemy in Total War Warhammer. It will probably will. And there is another interesting piece of artillery. Well, not really artillery. This is a machine more. This is like a wrecking ball actually, which is like a bigger version of what the Plague Sensor Bearer have. Also spikes, also hollow inside, there is a warpstone inside, and this is Plague Furence, and this is quite a deadly thing. But they are built specifically for a single battle because they are also very deadly to the users. Some siege equipment for Clan Pestilens, and this is actually Plague Furence in action, you can see that, and some Clan Pestilens troops, which are cool as well. So we have quite a few units, and we have at least one hero unit, we being the Plague Priest, that is connected to this clan. What about Lord level characters? Well, we do have normal Lord level characters, which would be, well, for example, the Warlord. Like we have a Chieftain for the hero level melee. We have a Warlord, and we also have a Grazier Lord level character, and we also have a Plague Lord, which would be obviously the Plague Priest level character. So I would see those three as a basic lords for Skaven, at least Clan Pestilens. But we have very few named characters that can be that were mentioned in the lore that are connected to the Clan Pestilens. Yes, there are a few. All the Plague Lords, except for the 7th one, have names. The Arch Plague Lord Nurglit, well, he also always have a name, Nurglit actually, So there is like 7th Nurglid at this point. But the main Plague Lord, the first Plague Lord, who is just under the Arch Plague Lord Nurglid, was Skrolk. And he was the guy who actually survived the Lustria campaign. So this is one interesting fella. We might see him being mentioned. We also have another character that I don't have very good. I was actually not able to find an image of him, but he's a Vermin Lord, and you've seen in my previous videos Vermin Lords being just large horned demons, and his name is Vermalanx the Corrupt. So this guy is a Vermin Lord that is very specific to the clan Pestilens. So we might see those two as legendary lords for the Pestilens. But this is not the only way that the game could go. Well, basically what could happen is that we could have one legendary lord level character that is for the clan Pestilens, and the other one being another Skaven clan, like Clan Melder, and another clan being added by free LC or DLC. Like Clan Scryer, I would see Clan Murder Scryer and Pestilens being like 3 factions that you could actually play in the Total War Warhammer. That would be very, very, very cool indeed. So there are 2 options, and we might actually see Nurglid as a legendary lord as well. I haven't seen stats for the Nurglid. I don't think they exist. If I'm wrong, please send me a link in the comments below. But I do not believe there are stats actually for Nurglid himself. There is stats for Skrolk, which actually he is the hero that allows you to get any number of plague monks, which is very, very cool. Normally they're a special unit. So yeah, basically the tactics of those guys is to poison the enemy and then throw some Skaven slaves. So it would take the enemy enough time killing the slaves to actually for the diseases to start working, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And they will be starting the Southlands clan Pestilens at least. If we will have second clan like Mulder, they will probably start in Skaven Blight, but this is outside of, I think, outside of Total War Warhammer 2 map. So that can be interesting. But the thing about Skaven is that they can start pretty much anywhere except Wolfland, because they dig under the ground and they have under empires pretty much anywhere. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So this is a clan that has sit after the First War on the Council of 13. They are very powerful, they are very interesting, they have lots of their own units, and I would like to play them. I would like to play them a lot. That's it, thank you for watching, hope you like it. If you did, press like, comment if you will, and see my other videos. In Total War Warhammer I'm doing mod reviews, mechanics videos, and DLC analysis and speculation videos, but I'm also doing let's plays in Total War series and other games. Thank you for watching, and see you later.